Hello, my name is Krasia Tasiu. I'm sidereal astrologer from the School of Ancient Astrology, the Magi. In this lecture, I will talk about Hyleg, alcocoden, almuten, the holy trio of the ancient astrology. The Hyleg, the alcocoden, and the almuten are known to us through the Arabic and the Hellenistic astrologers. Hillock is who gives life. They call him the giver of life. The alcocoden is the giver of the years, and the almuten is the most powerful planet in the horoscope, the one with the most possessions and dignities. Hillock, alcocoden, and almuten were essential part of the horoscope. They are essential part of the horoscopes now when you use the methods of the ancient astrology. Hillock determines the health and the vitality of the man. The alcocoden gives the years one has to live and has to do with our longevity. The almuten determines our character, and through our character, our destinies are determined. The hillock is extremely important, essential. This is the divine sparkle of life that at birth, with the first inhalation, enters the human body, or some authors call it this is the particle of life, of light, which enters the human body, and they call the hillock family atom. This atom keeps all the information from our previous incarnations, and according to Hermes Trismegistus, this is the light that comes from the cosmos. The term Hilek comes from the Arabic Hilaj, which is also taken from the Persians and means who sets or holy. The Hilek is the master of life. From him, we judge on the health of the native, on vitality of the person. For this, he is the master of life and must necessarily be determined in the horoscope. Now, how to find the Hillock in the horoscope? There are many authors, you will find many ways, many methods of finding the Hillock. According to Dorotheus and Arabs, the Hillock can only be the sun, the moon, the ascendant, the Syzygy, and the lot of fortune. Other authors also add planets as possible helics. Uh, I will first quote briefly the method of Ptolemy, just briefly, because I cannot skip Ptolemy since he is the best known author of antiquity. Uh, However, I would rather recommend the method of Dorotheus, of finding Hillock, also Porphyrius, and these two methods I will show you as well. So, according to Ptolemy, the Hillock can only be in strong astrological houses, and these are the houses which aspect the ascendant, which are above the horizon, and thereby they contribute to the personality of the person. In short, Ptolemy gives these steps which you see on the screen. The houses that the hillock can be are the following: the 10th, the 1st, the 11th, the 7th, and the 9th houses, exactly in this order. For diurnal nativities, for daily charts, the hillock can only be the sun, the moon, the ascendant, or the rulers of the sun, the moon, the Syzygy, when conjunction, uh, and the ascendant. Now, just briefly to remind you what is syzygy, we say it also in other lectures. The syzygy is the last conjunction or the last opposition of the luminaries before the birth of the native. So the last conjunction and the last opposition. For night chart, nocturnal nativity, Ptolemy starts with the moon, then the sun, which can be helix potentially, the lords of the moon, syzygy when opposition, and the lot of fortune. Then he adds as potential helix the ascendant, but again provided that the syzygy is conjunction, and the lot of fortune provided that the syzygy is an opposition. And he adds the rulers of the sun and the syzygy when conjunction, the ascendant or the moon. So the rulers of the sun, the syzygy when conjunction, the ascendant or the moon, the syzygy when opposition, the lot of fortune, uh, are the planets. So these rulers are the planets with the most dignities in minimum 3 places in the horoscope. So the rulers of the sun, the syzygy when conjunction, the ascendant or the moon, or the syzygy when opposition, the lot of fortune are the planets. So these rulers of these places are the planets with the most dignities in minimum uh, 3 places in the horoscope. So this is according to Ptolemy. And for example, this is like if the planet in a nocturnal nativity, this can be also only a night planet, which are Venus, Mars, and the Moon are the night planets, which are in sect or in highs in nocturnal nativity, and the day planets, for example Saturn, Jupiter, the Sun, are in sect or in highs in diurnal nativities, in daily birth, so to say. So his steps are to start looking for Sun and Moon in the following places: in the 10th, the 1st, 11th, 7th, 9th. The 10th is considered the powerful because it is the highest, and the 7th is the weakest. So then we could make a list of all above mentioned, previously mentioned points, and those who have the most dignities according to Ptolemy, at least 3 are and are in this in one of these 5 places. This one of these planet or luminary we choose. So we do not forget to judge the planets according to their power. So, and we start always with luminary. So uh, the rulership, the rulerships are valued in the order like the most powerful um, planet is ruling the house, then is ruling by exaltation, then is ruling by triplicity, by term, or by decanate. But for this I'm talking very much in detail in the lesson on the dignities and the rulerships of the planets. So the rulerships of Ptolemy are first by house, by exaltation, by triplicity, by term, or by decanate. Then he gives certain points, like he gives 5 points on rulership by house, 4 points by exaltation, 3 points on triplicity, 2 points on term, and 1 point on decanate. And then he makes a sum, and the planets with the most dignities are the planet with the most dignities, the potential Hillock. Now, this was briefly on the method of Ptolemy. I will tell you how Dorotheus recommends to find the Hillock. So, unlike Ptolemy, Dorotheus adds also the succeeding houses as possible places of the Hillock, and according to his theory, Hillocks can be only the Sun, the Moon, the Ascendant, the lot of fortune, or the Syzygy, or the Sun or Moon, the lot of fortune, the Syzygy, and the Ascendant. The order is important here, and uh, the following houses are places for the potential helix. Now, for the Sun to be Hillock, it must be in a male sign and male quadrant. What is this? Let me remind you. The male signs are those that are diurnal signs. This is Aries, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Sagittarius, Aquarius. So these are the male zodiacal signs. Now you have also the daily, the diurnal quadrants and the nocturnal quadrants. From ascendant to midheaven, this is the daily diurnal quadrant. From midheaven to descendant, this is nocturnal quadrant. From descendant to Imum Celi, lower meridian is this. You have diurnal quadrant, and from Imum Celi to ascendant, you have nocturnal quadrant. So he says that the Sun to be Hillock, it must be in a male sign and in a male diurnal quadrant, or in the houses 10th, 11th, 4th, or 5th. Then he says, for the Moon to become Hillock, the condition is to be in a female sign and in a female quadrant. So which are the female signs? These are the nocturnal and the even numbers. This will be Taurus, nocturnal female, Cancer, nocturnal female, Virgo, nocturnal female, Scorpio, nocturnal female, Capricorn, nocturnal female, Pisces, nocturnal female. And in a female quadrant, these are the nocturnal quadrants. So from midheaven to descendant, nocturnal. Then you have descendant, lower meridian, diurnal, and then you have lower meridian, ascendant, nocturnal quadrant. And he adds to be in the houses 7th, 8th, 1st, 2nd. So, according to Dorotheus, for the Sun to be Hillock needs to be in diurnal quadrant, diurnal signs. For the Moon to be quadrant needs to be in nocturnal quadrant, nocturnal signs. This is very logical because the luminaries, the Sun is diurnal luminary and the Moon is nocturnal luminary. So this all makes perfect sense. And this particular method of Dorotheus for finding the Hillock works perfectly well. Look at this example. This is diurnal chart. So according to Dorotheus, also like Ptolemy suggests, we start with the Sun because this is diurnal nativity. So we start to analyze the Sun to see if the Sun can be potential Hillock. Now the Sun is in Libra. You can see here the Sun is in the 24 degrees of Libra. Libra is diurnal sign. So this is good condition for the Sun to become Hillock. But is the Sun in diurnal quadrant? No, because from midheaven to descendant, this is nocturnal quadrant, so immediately the sun does not qualify to become Hillock. We continue with the moon. The moon is in Pisces, in the 16 degrees of Pisces. Pisces, this is a nocturnal sign, but is this nocturnal quadrant? Yes, because Dorotheus is saying to be in nocturnal quadrant in the first, second, seventh, eighth houses. So immediately the moon qualifies to be the Hillock of this horoscope. And yes, the moon is the Hillock. Now there are so many authors with different theories. Paulus of Alexandria, Valens, but this method of Porphyrius, I think, works very well. I will show you now the method of, this was Dorotheus, excuse me. I will show you now the method of Porphyrius. According to Porphyrius, Hillock can only be the sun, the moon, or the ascendant. So, in diurnal nativity, if the sun is between the ascendant and midheaven, same like with the Dorotheus, to be in the diurnal quadrant. So, diurnal nativity, diurnal quadrant, and to be in angular or succeedent place, then the sun can be Hillock. Now, I have to remind you um, the, on the nature of the houses, which house is angular, succeedent, and cadent. Now let's look briefly at this horoscope. The first and the seventh houses are angular because they are on the angles. The 10th and the 4th, which is the midheaven, and the lower meridian, medium celi or imum celi, are also angular houses. But there are many cases where you will see that the meridian passes through the 9th and the 3rd house, 11th, 5th. Also for Russia or certain Scandinavian countries, you can see the meridian passing through 12th, 6th houses. So the places of the meridian, lower and upper meridian, are the angular places, and the ascendant and descendant. So this, in this particular case, the first, the seventh, the 10th, and the 4th houses are the angular houses. Then you have the succeedent houses. Which are they? These are the houses which in the future will become angular. So the second house is succeedent because it will be the next house to become ascendant. The 11th house is succeedent because this will be the next house to become culminating or to become meridian. The 8th house is succeedent because this is the next house to become descendant. And the 5th house is succeedent because this is the next house to become imum celi or lower meridian. Then you have cadent houses. These are the houses which have already been in the place of the angles. They have been angular houses. So the 12th house is cadent because the 12th house was on the place of the first. The 9th house is cadent because the 9th was on the place of the 10th. And the 6th house is cadent because the 6th was descendant, and the 3rd house is cadent because the 3rd was angular already. So the angular houses are the most powerful houses, the succeedent are the next in power, and the houses which have the lowest powers and which are really in the last place are the cadent houses. So I'm reminding you this because we will use this knowledge when analyzing the Hylegs, the alcocodens, and also the almutens. So to come back to the method of Porphyrius in analyzing the Hillock. So for diurnal nativity, the sun can only be in the diurnal quadrant. It is between ascendant and medium Celi, upper meridian. Once again, let's look at the example. So the sun, for diurnal nativity, we start with the sun. The sun can be in this quadrant only, ascendant, upper meridian, in an angular house, or can be in the 10th, or he says in succeedent, or in the 11th, for example. For example, look at this particular horoscope. Immediately we can determine that the sun is Hillock. Why? Because the sun, because this is diurnal nativity, uh, we start immediately with the sun. The sun is in the diurnal quadrant between ascendant and meridian, and the sun is in an angular place in the 10th house, so we immediately choose the sun to become Hillock. If the sun cannot qualify for Hillock, then we start analyzing the moon. And then the same is valid. The moon can be in diurnal nativity if the sun does not qualify. And if the moon is also on the eastern part of the horoscope and is in the rising sign on the ascendant or in the culminating sign midheaven, or in succeedent uh, houses which are following midheaven or following ascendant. Only then the moon can qualify to become Hillock. So let's see it here. If the moon is in this quadrant but only in uh, rising sign, ascendant, midheaven, or in their succeedent places. But in this particular case, we already have the helix, so this is not really very applicable. But in this horoscope, this is another natal chart, also diurnal chart. Let's see, according to Porphyrius, which will be the Hillock. So let's start with the sun. The sun needs to be in the place between the ascendant and the meridian, which is not. The sun is not on the meridian, so the sun does not qualify for Hillock. Then let's take the moon. The moon should be eastern in the rising sign or the culminating sign. The moon immediately qualifies for Hillock. So you can see how it works. Then the next rule of Porphyrius for finding the Hillock in nocturnal nativity is when the moon is eastern again, but culminating between the Imum Celi, true ascendant, and up until the meridian, so in this half of the horoscope. So we need to have nocturnal nativity, the sun to be below the horizon, and the moon we start with, because this is nocturnal nativity, then we do not start with the sun. So the moon needs to be in this half of the horoscope, from Imum Celi to medium Celi. And if the moon is in the lower meridian sign, the rising sign, or the upper culminating, the upper meridian sign, and the succeedent houses to them. So the moon can be in the 4th, in the first, in the 10th, and the succeeding 11th, 2nd, 5th. Only then the moon can qualify for Hillock. Then, according to Porphyrius, if the moon and the sun are under the horizon, below the horizon, and if they're in angular position or in succeeding position, then the moon is Hillock. This is very logical because then imagine if this is the horizon under the, he says under the ground, which means under the horizon. Then we talk about nocturnal nativity. And if they both are in angular or in succeeding places for nocturnal nativity, we certainly start with the moon, so the moon will immediately qualify for Hillock. Now let's continue with the alcocoden. We cannot find the alcocoden without having found the Hillock. So this is the second step in the analysis of the horoscope. First to find the Hillock and then to continue with the alcocoden. What is the alcocoden? Now, according to the Arabs who used mainly ancient Persian astrology, the giver of the ears was the alcocoden, or the master of the house, or alcocoden as it was translated later in Latin. The alcocoden gives the ears we can live. He is our longevity. So we cannot find the alcocoden without knowing which planet is the Hillock, because the alcocoden is the planet which rules the Hillock. It determines how long a person will live, and that is why he is called the giver of the ears. Alcocoden is also the guardian angel of the native. From which planet is alcocoden or guardian angel, we understand how the native will be taught, which way the native will receive the lessons from his guardian angel. For example, if the alcocoden is Jupiter, how do we judge this? If you see in the chart that the alcocoden is Jupiter, and when you know the nature of the planet, like you know that Jupiter is beneficial planet, it is attentive, it would be attentive teacher to the native. Jupiter is the planet that gives the blessing, that gives all good things in life in a very uh, kind and soft way. So when the person will have guardian angel or alcocoden Jupiter, you will know that this person will receive his or her lessons from the destiny in a very attentive, very kind and soft way. So if, for example, the alcocoden is Saturn, think about the nature of Saturn. Saturn is the wisest teacher who likes to teach us discipline, and is doing this in a tough way, because Saturn is called and was called by the ancients the planet of the tears. So you can imagine that when one will have alcocoden Saturn, the lessons will not be coming in the easy and soft way of Saturn, of Jupiter, but they will be difficult, hard, and tough. So this is the difference when you have benefic and malefic planet uh, being your alcocoden. The alcocoden, according to Vettius Valens, can be a fallen guardian angel. And what is this? Now, uh, when the alcocoden is in a cadent home, this then the alcocoden can be a fallen angel according to Valence. When the planet alcocoden is invisible, hidden in the rays of the sun, then this planet can also be considered a fallen angel. When the alcocoden does not make any aspect to the Hillock, with the Hillock, then again fallen angel. When the rulers of the house and the term of the luminary sun and moon are in mutual reception, which means they are exchanging terms, the same, the alcocoden is a fallen angel. If Mars is in a Jupiter term and Jupiter is in a Mars term, and they are rulers of the luminaries. So we talk here about the same thing, about the mutual reception. Then the alcocoden is a fallen angel. But what is this meaning? Now, uh, according to Valens and other authors, when the alcocoden is a fallen angel, they say that the person has no protection from the angelic world, from the heaven. Now, whether this is true or false, we really don't know. We can never prove this. However, um, what is really true is that the alcocoden is determining the years to live, because the alcocoden gives the years. So it is really important to find out in the horoscope first which planet is the alcocoden and whether it is a fallen angel or not, because this can affect the longevity in particular. And certainly a fallen angel, alcocoden, can give less years to live. But I will describe this further and will be given special attention to longevity in a separate chapter or separate lesson. Now, how to find the alcocoden in the chart? There are so many different rules and ways to find in the alcocoden. A simple and very applicable rule is the one of Dorotheus and also the one of Porphyrius. I will show you both ways. So what Dorotheus is saying is that the planet which is alcocoden should be the planet um, to rule the Hillock by term or by house or exaltation or decanate, and to aspect it. Now this is really simple. Let me show you in a horoscope how this looks like. Now for this particular horoscope, we found that the Hillock is the moon. Then we need to find the alcocoden. So we search for the planet that is ruling the Hillock by term, by house, by exaltation, by triplicity, by decanate, and aspects the Hillock. This planet only can be alcocoden. So we have the Hillock. Let's see which planet is ruling the sign or the exaltation or the term of the moon. So the moon is in Pisces. Pisces are ruled by Jupiter. Let's see how is Jupiter positioned. Jupiter is in the 16 degrees of Gemini, and they make perfect exact aspect to a degree. This is a square aspect. So the rule is that the planet that is alcocoden should rule the sign of the Hillock, and Jupiter does. The moon is also ruling the term, by the way, so we have already two conditions to further investigate whether Jupiter is alcocoden or not. The second condition, the second of importance, is to have aspect between the alcocoden and the Hillock, and there we go. We have square aspect between the moon and Jupiter is ruling the sign and the term of the moon. So immediately the Jupiter is qualifying to be alcocoden of this chart. Let's see what Porphyrius is saying about finding the alcocoden. He is saying that the planet that rules the Hillock by sign is the major alcocoden. Then we have a co-alcocoden, secondary alcocoden, which is the planet that rules the term. Let's see the same example, the same horoscope. Once again, now the moon is in Pisces, the sign which is ruling uh, Pisces is Jupiter. Excuse me, the planet which is ruling Pisces is Jupiter. So Pisces is the chief, the major alcocoden and the major guardian angel. And then the planet which is ruling the term, the moon is in a term of Jupiter, is the secondary angel, guardian angel. So this is exactly how it goes with the method of Porphyrius. How to make use of the alcocoden in order to determine the longevity of someone. So this is a table of the years that the planets give. So you can see the minor years of the planets, the median years, the major years, and the maxima years. Now we do not look at the maxima years because they are more applicable to the mundane astrology when we need to determine some important events um, in for the world, for example. So we will ignore this part of the maxima years, but we will look at the minor, the median, and the major years that the planets denote to the native. So when the planet, when alcocoden is giving the major years, so these are the major years for Saturn 57, for Jupiter 79, Mars 66, and so on. So this is happening when the planet is oriental to the sun, or let's say the other way this can be said is when the planet is a morning star or eastern. This will look in the horoscope like this. So if the sun is here and the planet is here, this planet is a morning star. So when the planet can give the maximal, the major years, when it is a morning star, when it is in highs, so I said already what it is, or in sect, when diurnal planet is in diurnal nativity, when nocturnal planet is in nocturnal nativity. So for example, when diurnal planet is in highs, when a masculine planet is in highs, meaning above the earth in diurnal quadrant, in diurnal sign, and unafflicted. So it means not to be receiving negative, disharmonious aspects, harmful aspects from another planet. Then this particular planet will give the major years. Or again, nocturnal planets can give the major years when in highs, when being in the feminine signs, nocturnal signs, in nocturnal quadrants, and if the nocturnal planet is above the horizon, then the diurnal planets should be um, under the horizon, and then it is said that this planet, this nocturnal planet, will give the major years. This is about the nocturnal nativity. Also, planet is giving major years when in one or more of its five dignities. Um, you remember we speak in the lesson on the essential dignities. The dignities are by house, by sign, exaltation, triplicity, term, and decanate. Also, when the planet is on the ascendant or in midheaven in the 10th house. Ptolemy also says, these are the rules of Ptolemy, that the planet is given the middle years, which are on the table. These are the middle years of Saturn 43, uh, of Jupiter 45, and so on. This table you will find on our website together with the lesson. So the alcocoden is given the middle years when evening star, when succeedent in succeedent place, evening star, when the planet is on the western horizon. It will mean that, for example, if the sun is here, the planet will be setting after the sun. So this will be the evening star. So if the planet is an evening star and in succeedent place, I showed you which are the succeedent places. And to be free from affliction, not to be afflicted by harmful aspect from another planet. These are also rules which Guido Bonatti is giving, and is quoting Arabic astrologers. Then how to find the minor years one has to live according to his alcocoden. So the alcocoden gives its minor years when in cadent, in falling places, if cadent and afflicted by harmful aspect from another planet, can give the minor years. This was only briefly to show you how to approach the alcocoden. First, to know in what way the alcocoden gives the lessons to the native by knowing the nature of the planet which is alcocoden, and secondly by seeing how the alcocoden is positioned in the horoscope, whether in angular houses, in highs, whether in succeedent houses, whether afflicted, whether cadent. All these matters when deciding, when trying to judge on the longevity of the person. Of course, this is a very serious theme, a very serious topic. This is only one part of the way we approach longevity. Now let's talk about the almuten. Almuten, the most powerful planet in the horoscope. In some literature or the classic Hellenistic astrology, we can find it written like almuten figuris. This is the most important planet also there in the horoscope, the one that has the most dignities. It dominates the entire horoscope and gives the most accurate description of the character, of the personality, and even of the appearance of the native. According to Porphyrius, the almuten is the Lord and is different from the alcocoden, because you can see in the Arab in the writings, in the literature of the Arab astrologers, the ancient Arab astrologers, they mix up the alcocoden and the almuten. So it is so that by knowing that the almuten is the most dominating planet in the horoscope, the experienced astrologer can determine which planet is almuten only by seeing the person before judging the horoscope. Via the reversed order, just by analyzing the behavior of the person, the aura of the person, the expressions, the attitude, the appearances. It is known that when we descend to Earth, we accept, we receive the essence of the planets, and the almutens will be the planet that prevails the most, that we get the essences from the most. This is happening when we descend and when we pass the planetary spheres, and then there is this one planet that gives her the most powerful influence. I will show you how to find the almuten. I will use the way of Porphyrius, because this is the way I personally use, and it is very powerful, very different from the way which the modern classical traditional astrologers use. Porphyrius's way really works perfectly. I recommend it. I will show you both the way that the modern, not really tropical astrologers, but the modern traditional astrologers use, and I will show you first the way of Porphyrius. Now, according to Porphyrius, the almuten needs to rule in the most powerful places in the chart, also to be in a powerful house, and to have powerful cosmic state, and to aspect the luminaries and the ascendant. So he's suggesting the following steps in determining the almuten, the planet which is almuten. So first he is searching for planets in the rising sign, and in the rising, in the rising term. So them he gives 4 points when in a term and 3 points when in the rising sign. Then he is looking at the rulers of sign, term, ascendant, sign, um, sign, term of the ascendant, upper meridian, the place of the moon, the syzygy, the lot of fortune, and he also speaks about rulership by heliacal phase. But I will show you, this is really looks not very simple now, but when I show you on the example, you will see how simple this is. So first, he um, is looking for rulership of planets in the most powerful places, like the rising sign and the rising term, and these are the points which he gives: 4 points for the term, 3 points for the sign. Then he searches for the rulers of sign and terms of the ascendant, of the meridian, of the moon, of the syzygy, of the lot of fortune, and he's searching for planets in heliacal phase and is assigning them points as well. I made this table just to make it easier for you, and then when you fill in this table you get the result, and the planet with the higher score is the almuten. Let's see on example how this works. It's really very simple. Now let's look at this particular horoscope. We start with the sun. The sun is in the 29th degrees of Taurus, and this is a place of the meridian, the upper meridian. So this is one of the key places that we need to investigate. Now the sun is in the place of Venus, because Venus is ruling the meridian. However, for our analysis it's important only that the sun is in one of the key places, and this is medium Celi. So ruling by sign which is medium Celi gives 2 points, 2 points. Ruling by term gives 1 point. So the sun is ruled by in the place of the medium Sally, so the sun is receiving 2 points. We continue with the moon. The moon is in the lower meridian, but this place is not a key place and we do not analyze this further. Then we continue with the order of the planetary spheres. We continue with Mercury. Mercury is very interesting because Mercury is in a term of Venus, and Venus is a term of the ruling, because Venus is ruling the midheaven. So Venus is receiving 1 point because this is a term and Venus is ruling midheaven. So again, we give 1 point to midheaven. What is very important here for Mercury? Mercury is in a heliacal phase because Mercury is in a phase evening first 4, which means that Mercury rose. Sorry, this is evening last 4. Mercury will disappear after 4 days in the rays of the sun. So 7 days before his heliacal rise and 7 days after his heliacal rise, Mercury is in a phase and has certain dignities by phase. That's why we give 4 points to dignity rulership by phase. So see here, the sun was on midheaven in the sign. So midheaven sign, MC here, receives 2 points. The moon we don't look at. Mercury is in a term of Venus. Venus is ruling midheaven, so by term, so midheaven receives here 1 point. But Mercury is also ruling by heliacal phase, and to this Porphyrius assigns 4 points, so we give 4 points to Mercury. We continue now with Venus. Venus is ruling the sign of the midheaven. So Venus is the midheaven again is receiving 2 points for Venus. Look, 2 points for Venus. Then we continue with Mars. Mars is on the ascendant and is in the sign. So the ascendant and Mars is receiving 3 points. Then Mars is ruling the sign of the moon because Scorpio is ruling the sign. And remember, the places where we are searching for dignities are rising sign, ascendant, midheaven, upper meridian, midheaven, the moon, the syzygy, lot of fortune, and rulership by phase, by heliacal phase. So Mars is ruling the sign of the moon. So one of the places of rulership, important place, is the place of the moon. So Mars ruling the sign receives 2 points. Then we continue with Jupiter. Jupiter is only ruling the place of the lot of fortune because one of the key places was the places of the lot of fortune. So the lot of fortune is in a term of Jupiter. That is why Jupiter receives 1 point. Then we continue with Saturn, the last planet. Saturn is the term of Saturn is ruling the ascendant. See? The rising sign goes through the term of Saturn. Saturn gets 1 point for term. Then he has no rulership here. The moon is in a term of Saturn. She automatically gets 1 point. The syzygy is in a term of Saturn. The syzygy, see, 1 point, syzygy and the moon are in perfect conjunction. And then Saturn is ruling the sign of the lot of fortune, and therefore he is receiving here 2 points. And Saturn is having the most dignities in this horoscope. So when we sum up everything, look, Saturn is receiving 6 points, therefore he is ruling the horoscope, and he is the almuten or almuten figuris, like you can find in some literature. So Saturn is ruling this horoscope, and no wonder, I will tell you, this is the horoscope of Donald Trump. Saturn is a very powerful planet of rulership, of domination, of rules. So this has to do with the character of Donald Trump, with his appearances. So Saturn is the almuten of this chart. I will show you now very briefly how the medieval astrologers calculated the almuten. Some astrologers use this method also. It's a very simple method of calculating the almuten. So they simply would calculate the essential dignities of the planets. They will list them, and then they will give scores. Uh, if the rulership is by house, the score will be 5 points, by exaltation 4 points, if by triplicity 3 points, term 2 points, and decanate 1 point. I will show you just one example how this works. It's quite simple. Let's take this horoscope. It's a different horoscope than the one of Donald Trump. Let's start again with the sun. Now the sun is in the 24 degrees of Libra, thus the sun is in a place of Venus, and because this is the sign of Venus, the house of Venus, Venus is automatically receiving 5 points. Then the sun is in a term, as you can see, the 24 degree, this is term of Venus, so automatically Venus is receiving another 2 points. Then the sun is in a decanate or phase of of Jupiter. Jupiter is receiving automatically 1 point. The triplicity ruler. No, actually the sun doesn't have any rulership here. But Saturn is exalting in Libra, so this is the exaltation of Saturn. So Saturn is receiving automatically 4 points. Then let's take the next planet, the moon, for example. The moon is in the place in Pisces. Pisces are ruled by Jupiter, so Jupiter is receiving 5 points. Pisces is the place of exaltation of Venus. Venus is receiving 4 points. The moon is having triplicity rulership because the co-ruler of Pisces is the moon. But because this is diurnal chart, we need to take the diurnal ruler. This is Venus, so Venus is receiving 3 points. Then the moon is in a term of Jupiter. Jupiter is receiving 2 points, and the moon is in a decanate of Jupiter. Jupiter is receiving 1 point. So this is the very simple way how you calculate. By the way, this table you will see with this lecture, so you can really follow it up easily. So you fill in all the results planet per planet, you sum up, and the planet with the most dignities is almuten figuris of the chart. So this table is given just for easy use. It's not necessarily that you use table. You can simply calculate by mind when you know that the house ruler is receiving 5 points, the ruler of exaltation is receiving 4 points, the triplicity ruler according to the chart, if diurnal chart, the diurnal ruler, if nocturnal chart, the nocturnal ruler is receiving 3 points, the ruler of the term is receiving 2 points, and the ruler of the phase or decanate is receiving 1 point. So this is the simple way how you can also, um, if you decide to use this way of calculating the almuten. I am personally more convinced that the Porphyrius way of calculating the almuten works well. You will see it on the chart, and you can use my empty charts um, to try to find the almuten of your own horoscope or of the horoscopes of the people around you. Try to find the Hillock, the almuten, and the alcocoden of your own horoscope, and don't hesitate to write us should you have any questions on our website. Thank you very much.